We on?
Yeah, fucking go.
All right. What's going on, everyone? Kurt Weidner, natural pro bodybuilder. Wanted to do a different type of video today. What I want to talk about is a new workout split that I came up with and that I've been following for about the last 4 weeks. I want to give you a little kind of background to discuss how I came up with this. So if you're not familiar with me, I started competing as a natural bodybuilder in 1997 when my hockey career kind of came to an end. And I would say for the last, 10 to 12 years, typical workout split for me would be things getting hit at least twice a week, sometimes certain weak points, things like calves. I might hit, more, anywhere to 3 to 4 times a week, or things like, core. I definitely over the last, I would say, 8 to 10 years have had more inclusion of functional type training, athletic based training. I've trained a little bit, maybe more of like a hybrid, so that, obviously as a bodybuilder, as a competitive bodybuilder, there's always been a lot of focus on hypertrophy. There was something I will continue to do because I want to, build muscle, but at the same time, I want functional muscle. I don't see the point. There's no point in having a bunch of muscle if you can't use it. So I like to make sure that there's inclusion of functional stuff. Like I was saying, most things would be hit at least twice a week. For instance, I would take groups like chest and shoulders and separate them by a few days, where probably shoulders would get hit on a Monday and chest would get hit on a Thursday, and then put a lot of extra stuff like some biceps, triceps, calves, core work with both of those. Then I'd have 2 big leg days where I hit a little bit of everything, but one would have more of a quad focus. The other one would have a posterior chain focus. Have days where I hit back, but throw in a lot of extra, biceps, rear delts, traps, etc. A lot of the same type of pulling. And I've had a lot of success with these types of training programs. They've always worked really well for me. Like I said, for the most part, most things are getting hit at least twice. I will say that there are certain things that were getting hit with greater frequency, and I want to talk about this because that is kind of how I got into this idea here. I think there's been a lot of evidence to demonstrate that increased frequency is superior to the old school bodybuilding way of just annihilating a muscle group once a week or once a training period and then not hitting it for 7 days. Actually, the greater frequency is better, and I found it to be more beneficial. I think there's a fair amount of evidence to support that. I found this to be very true, during my contest prep, especially when you look at the last several shows I've done, going back to 2016, where I had 2 huge leg days per week, 2+ hour leg workouts, several sprint workouts a week, at least 2 or more sled push-pull workouts. My legs were literally getting hit every single day, almost, at least 6 days a week. They were doing something. And it not only was it never detrimental to my growth, but I actually felt like I benefited. The more I did them, the better I did. Not only was my conditioning improved, but my strength, my mobility, and everything else improved as well. However, I never implemented that strategy to the same degree with any of the other body parts, and probably because I was concerned over the fragility of something like the shoulder joint. If you're doing too much pressing too often, too many movements that incorporate smaller stuff, like you could get tendonitis, issues with impingement or whatnot with the shoulder. So like I said, I never really went beyond that twice a week with some of the smaller body parts or upper body parts. So how I arrived at this, last year, if you're familiar with kind of what's been going on with me, as I was going into my contest season, I started having issues with the right shoulder. And actually the issues with my right shoulder go back probably 8 years. But I started boxing, and it started really aggravating this right shoulder. I had some serious impingement issues, ended up with bursitis that I had to get a cortisone shot for. I ended up getting an MRI, which showed that I had some minor tears in 2 of the rotator cuff muscles. I was able to rehab and get through my contest season. Also, if you look at this nice scar on my elbow, I had a bursitis. If anybody has seen the contest pictures from last year, you look at the left side chest and it looks like I have a racquetball in my elbow. I got the racquetball removed, so that's good. When my contest season was over last year, I had a successful season, was very happy with how things went, but I ended up with bilateral sports hernia repair, which I ended up having in March. So I have 2 nice incisions here. Got at the same basically day while I was still under, they took out the bursa, and then a week after that, to try to address the shoulder, did PRP therapy on this shoulder. So, I mean, 44 years old, been training for 3 decades, a lot of sports. I mean, this body's seeing a fair amount of wear and tear. So I got some pathology I got to deal with. When I first came out of my recovery, I was 6 weeks off training after my surgeries and the PRP. When I started coming back in, I went back to my traditional schedule, and I was able to regain some strength and muscle. But I got to a point where I just was feeling that maybe it wasn't optimal what I was doing, and the way I'd been doing things for a long time, maybe I needed to change. So I really tried to rethink things. And so one of the ideas here is that maybe it's not the best idea, especially with something that with like my shoulder, to hit so much volume in a given workout. From a recovery standpoint, it wasn't necessarily optimal. So I came up with this idea of, taking the total volume that I wanted to do for each area, or all of the exercises for a given area, and spread them throughout the week, so that really you're doing a little bit of everything each workout, rather than completely annihilating one area. And for certain areas, my body may deal with that better. But, with the old schedule, when I had like a Thursday that was mainly chest and triceps with maybe some core and calves thrown in, my fitness level dictated that I could easily work out for 2+ hours and wanted to, but my shoulder said otherwise. My shoulder's sitting there saying, if you do one more damn chest exercise, I'm just going to get up and leave. So I needed to take a different approach. So really what I did, I took all the exercises, all my exercises for shoulders that I wanted to hit in a week, all my exercises I wanted to hit for chest, all the exercises I wanted to hit for back, biceps, triceps, legs, posterior chain, mobility, conditioning exercises. I got those all kind of down on paper and be like, this is everything that I want to be able to do in a week. And what I want to do is allocate it evenly across my whole training schedule. And I came up with this 6-day split that is obviously aggressive. But I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. It's completely different. The other thing is after this long training and, for doing bodybuilding as long as I have, I was ready to change things up and try something completely different that I hadn't really done before. So this is what I came up with. So looking here, if you look at Monday here, all right, these brackets here are supersets. You do these exercises together. You see lat pull down, leg press. Okay, incline dumbbell flies, torso twists. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, torso twists, basically sit on the floor with your legs elevated, holding a plate. You can pretend this is a plate. You're going back and forth. So it's core exercise. All right. Seated cable rows, standing calf raises, lateral raise machine. I actually like the Life Fitness lateral raise machine. Got some arms here, some lower body conditioning, and another shoulder exercise. So with lat pull down and seated row, you got 2 back exercises, okay? I wanted to experiment with putting leg press in here. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Really, this is just kind of some blood flow. Throwing core in as often as I can, throwing calves in as often as I can, because calves for me have always been a weak point. So you got 2 different delt exercises, but this isn't heavy delt. This is kind of, you want to get some blood in that area. But something like a 1-arm overhead dumbbell press, okay, this is standing, not seated. You're not going to do nearly as heavy as you would do like a seated. I mean, you're probably going to use half the weight. You're going to get some core stabilization. You're going to get some good mobility out of that. So you're getting a little bit of everything here. Okay, Tuesday traditionally for me would be just a huge leg day that is based around squats, but you're throwing in your leg curls, you're throwing in your leg extensions, leg press, hack squats, all that other stuff. So this is a very different look to it. I still have squats, okay, and I still have those leg curls, but here I'm throwing in other stuff. By the way, the multi-directional lunges, if you're not familiar with that, I have a video on Instagram. You can go back and look that demonstrates what a multi-directional lunge is. It's a great way to warm up for lower body. So really this is more of a warm-up drill, great for mobility. But so here with legs, something that I would never do before with throwing in alternate dumbbell curls, okay, it's keeping your tempo up, okay, but you're getting a little more total body work, throwing arms in with legs. Okay, and then the second grouping of exercises, slingshot. This is a posterior chain hip extension exercise. Again, this, I have a video. This is something I came up with recently. If you watch my video, I have the video on YouTube and on Instagram that shows what the slingshot is. It's basically a modified good morning using bands, where you back up and it's trying to pull you forward, so you have to actively resist. While you're extending your hips, you're driving your chest up and your shoulders back. And so what that's doing is it's teaching you during a squat to not allow yourself to come forward. You have to, straighten up as you're getting hip drive. You want to synchronize that with pushing your shoulders back and staying straight up. Throwing some triceps in here, that's different, to include arms on a day where I'm also hitting legs. And then getting some core exercise in with the hanging leg raises with some pull-ups. So even though I hit back here twice, I'm just throwing, here we're just getting a little bit, 4 sets of pull-ups. No big deal. One thing I've wanted to try to do is get a little more grip and forearm work, so at least like 3 days a week, I'm throwing in some stuff to get some forearm work. Captains and crush grippers, I demonstrate to you what those are, but they're actually in my shed and it's pouring out, so I'm not going to go outside and get them. But those are basically the squeezers. You can get these off ironmind.com. They have different ratings. They go up to world-class strength. Kettlebell swings, another hip extension exercise, but also inclusion of upper body, to stabilize a heavy kettlebell. You're getting some shoulder work, you're getting some trap work, you're getting some conditioning. So again, this workout is a little bit of everything. My Wednesday workout, and this has kind of always been like this through most of the training splits that I've done, is kind of like a break in the week, okay? This is a much shorter workout, and the idea is just to go get some blood flow. So usually, after a Tuesday where I've annihilated legs, I would go in and do push-pull with the sled, and really to facilitate blood flow, kind of try to flush out everything so that the legs, don't get as sore. It helps with recovery. So what I've been doing here is doing sled, throwing some hip thrusts, and some leg extensions in, some back extensions, a little bit of shrugs using the hammer strength machine, and then pikes. Pikes is another core movement. I can try to demonstrate this. I don't know how well it's going to work in the house, but I don't really have a good place to do this, but what the hell. This is a pike, okay? Try not to hit the kitchen table. So that's just one of my core exercises that I like to do. So, one of the things here is I like to try to, with this program, while I'm throwing exercises in for legs or for hip extension every day, the exercises on all those days are very different. So the type of core exercise, you're doing a twisting core exercise here. You're doing a hip flexion exercise here. And this is more, it's kind of a different, dynamic core stabilization exercise here. So you're getting different types of movements. So you're never working the muscle in the same way you did on the other days. Okay? Come around to Thursday. Thursday was always a day where it was chest dominant. So I'm still starting with that chest press. I like the plate loaded incline press. And I've been using my steel flex, which is in my other room over here. But then again, throwing some rows in, the hammer strength seated row. So Whereas on Monday, I'm doing a seated cable row. Here, I'm doing a plate-loaded seated row, So it's a different type of row. Incline sit-ups with a plate. Again, if you're not sure what that looks like, you can go to my Instagram, and I have a video with that. Kneeling leg curl, that's actually right here. Cybex kneeling leg curl, because everybody has a seated leg curl in their kitchen, right? I mean, you can eat breakfast, get some hamstring work in, why not? Or go over here and get some lat pull downs or some GHD, why not? I mean, we got shit everywhere. I mean, doesn't everybody's house look like this? Anyway, so back to Thursday. So then I got another grouping here, overhead seated dumbbell press, and again, this is going to be some of my heavier shoulder work, heavy for me right now. So whereas here, this is kind of more, getting some mobility with some core work in for the shoulder. Here, I want to try to go a little heavier, to enable greater hypertrophy. Again, getting those calves in. I've always found the calves are something that respond really well to frequency. I've trained them up to 5 and 6 days a week. Kettlebell upright rows, I really become a big fan of these, and for whatever reason, this may not make sense to certain people. Upright rows of the barbell cause serious issues with shoulders. My shoulder hates it. I get really bad impingement because I'm the positioning here. For whatever reason, doing a kettlebell, that grip here, I can come all the way up in front of me and I get no impingement. It feels really good and I can go really heavy. The thing I like about these is I like doing them from the floor. And so you're not just getting a good shoulder workout and trap workout, you're getting a lot of body movement. So it becomes a conditioning exercise. You knock out a set of 15 or 20 with a heavy kettlebell where you're coming from the floor all the way up to here. I mean, you're gonna feel your heart rate get up, you're gonna be sweating, you're getting a lot of movement. All right, step ups. These aren't something I do heavy. I'll put the vest on, max, I'll go 40-pound vest and maybe a couple 20-pound chains. And again, this is more mobility. I just want to get that reinforcement of that motor pattern in between my other leg stuff. Get a high step up and focus on driving from the heel, getting, that posterior chain in there. Now, sometimes I'll do substitute exercises. For instance, this past Thursday, instead of doing step-ups, I modified this and I did split squats on my Rogers Athletic Squat Pro, which I'm a big fan of. And that's one of those things that I have to work in because I want to include split squats. Wrist curler, basically the rope, with weight attached to it. It's just another forearm exercise. Cable pull through, posterior chain hip extension exercise. If you're not familiar, if you have a cable coming through your legs and you're basically just pulling it forward. So it's just another form of a hip thrust, hip extension, okay, to work glutes and posterior chain. Come around to Friday, we got another back exercise. This is a plate loaded lat pull down, but it's a different style. This is what I'm using here. This is a diverging lat pull down made by Steel Flex. And so this is different from a cable lat pull down because you're pulling straight down outside of your shoulders. So the way you're working those muscles in your back is different. Again, even though I'm hitting back frequently throughout the week, every time I hit it, I'm doing it in a different way. Okay? T-bar rows with push-ups. So rather than hitting push-ups in the same day, I do my chest press. I'm actually putting them here on Friday, and this has actually felt really good. I would never thought that would work well, where you're frequently hitting that shoulder joint, but because I'm not hitting it with great volume on any day, it's enabling me to be able to do it. And even at the end of the week, I'll do this with my feet elevated, hands on dumbbells all the way down, and be able to crank out sets, and it feels actually really good. Also, I don't always stick completely to what I have written here. I've always been an instinctual trainer, so sometimes I just feel like doing something different. So for instance, last weekend I bought a lat pull down. So I decided instead of T-bar rows, I'm gonna try out my new lat pull down and do close grip pull downs. Because here, these would be wide grip. So I did those instead of T-bar rows, okay? some arm work, get some biceps, some triceps, ab wheel. I think you know what an ab wheel is. Again, a little more posterior chain, cable kickbacks, be kneeling on the bench, kick ankle attachment, ankle attached to cable, and you're kicking back. Another posterior chain exercise. Okay, around the world, if you have a landmine post, you're holding the barbell, okay, you're coming around like this. Again, it's another core exercise, but a different type of core exercise. So each time I'm including something, I'm using a different variant to hit that part of the body. Lateral dumbbell raises, generally speaking, Friday at this point in the week, I am not going to be able to do these heavy. So when I hit my lateral raise machine here, I like to do that for my heavy work. I'll go as heavy as I can, do a lot of sets. Friday, this is more just let me get some blood in my shoulders, and I might do 15s, 20s, max 25s, not trying to go really heavy. The shoulders aren't capable at that point. I'll do some type of shrugs, one arm sandbag shrugs I put in. I have a couple sandbags. One weighs about 125, the other one's like 220, and basically just coming up like this. It's just a variant of a shrug. Throwing in some wrist curls for forearms, okay? Ending the week, again, going back to my traditional workout programs. Tuesday and Saturday were my big leg days. And so Saturday was usually like a 2.5 hour leg day. So it still kind of maintains that idea, but I'm throwing a lot of other stuff in. So what I've been doing is squat machine, face pulls. This is actually, so I do these on a pull down, taking a rope and separating it as I come down. Leg extensions. I've actually been throwing some other stuff in with this. So some of the modifications I've made is I found that with this leg press, if I go too heavy here, I don't like doing that the day before squat. So what I did is I took leg press and I made it part of this superset here. The other thing, since my shoulder and the tricep are doing better and able to handle more, one exercise that I hadn't been able to do for a while that I'm really happy that I've been able to get back to is dips. So on Saturday, about the first hour of my workout, I have 5 exercises here that I rotate through. I'll hit a set of squat machine, I'll do a set of face pulls, I'll do a set of leg press, and then I'll go do a set of dips and then a set of leg extension. Maybe that's 6 exercises. I can't fucking count. So I don't know, whatever. The more the better. Why not? Cable crunches. This is, again, another core exercise. Kneeling on the ground, coming down with the cable. More calves. Pull-ups, GHD. So there's your hip extension, posterior chain. One arm overhead walking lunge. This is probably one of the most important, what I think to be one of the most important, one of the most effective mobility exercises and core exercises that you can do. It forces you to do a lot of things. Okay, I have videos on this. So a one arm overhead walking lunge looks like this. Okay, without sliding. Obviously, you wouldn't want to use socks. Okay, down with the right arm, back with the left. First of all, shoulder stability. You can have great shoulder strength as far as pressing, but shoulder stability is something different entirely. So that helps you work on that. Core stability. You have an uneven amount of weight from laterally, from left to right, so it forces you to stabilize your body. Hip mobility. When you're trying to keep this in an overhead position, because if you don't, you're going to tip forward. Stretching. Okay, here you have to have both hip and shoulder mobility. So I think this is one of the best mobility exercises you can do. Huge fan of them. And then some legs / conditioning, finishing with sled push row. Push row is different from push pull. Push pull, where I have here, is with the belt. So that's basically you're pushing the sled down, you're putting the belt around your waist, pulling it back with your legs. Push row, you're having an attachment, and you can use whatever type of attachment, and you're doing stop reset rows. So you're actually getting a little bit of upper body, but if you do it right, it should be more about explosive hip extension. So you're like this, and you're pulling the sled by driving your hips forward explosively. So that's kind of a snapshot of what the week looks like. I put this together. It's different from anything I've done before. I've now gone through 4 weeks and I love it. I really, really like this program. It's working. My recovery has been fine. I actually feel like I'm getting stronger on certain things. It's got a nice balance to it. It's completely different from anything I've done before, but what the hell, it's working and it's different. So, you know, if you want to give something like this a shot, I like the way I laid this out. I'm happy with what I came up with. Like I said, you know, I'll tweak little things from week to week. I'll put certain things in on certain days. Sometimes I'll take back extensions and put them here on Tuesday. I took the leg press out of here, put dips in there, substituted the split squats for the step ups. You know, those are all trivial details, but you know, you get the general idea. So if you want a different approach or you're interested in what I'm doing for a workout split, there you go. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, fire away. Also, you know, if there's anything particular you would like to see as far as content, let me know. I'm happy to do question and answers. So just, you know, shoot me a message. You can follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Have a great weekend, everybody.